All right, everybody, welcome into the High Noon Stream, or High Noon 15, whatever you want to call it. It was a little bit delayed today. Hold on, let me get some stuff assembled here. I am Pugs Moran. I do this every Monday through Friday, noon till whenever the news ends. This is what this show is about. It's about current events, it's about headlines, it's about hot topics, it's about all the stuff that people are talking about. Now, what we don't do is we don't actively engage in divisive political discourse. That's some nonsense that can't get here. You can get. Well, hold on a second. Do I have this right? Hold on. I want to make sure that the chat is working properly. Oh, who's going to be the first in the chat today? Who's going to be the first in the chat? Hold on. There we go. Sorry. It was one of those weekends. My kid was here this past weekend, so I have to break down the entire studio area so that he doesn't get his stupid kid fingers all over everything. And it takes a little bit of time on the Monday after that for me to get everything resettled. But that's not why I was late today. No. I was late today. I was 15 minutes late today. First of all, let me just tell you, no less an authority on showbiz than the great... Hold on. Is there something wrong with the chat room? Why isn't the chat room sharing over in the... Somebody say something in the chat room just to test something out, just so I can see. See, because again, I had the kid this weekend, so I had to break everything down, so I had to re-put everything together. So now I'm just hyper looking at everything going, that doesn't look right. Did I do that right? Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I don't know why the chat room isn't working. Something is happening. You guys can't all see the chat room, can you? Hold on, let me see something. Test. Yeah, huh. Can't post, but okay, all right, well. Yeah, there is. Okay, so that's just it. There's just something a little screwy happening with the chat room today. I am sorry, folks. I'm sorry. Maybe, as is the case a lot of times with this software that we use, it'll fix itself. It'll just, one day it won't work at all, and the next day it will. Okay, so a little bit late today. I was telling you that, God, it is gorgeous outside. It is just so beautiful outside. It's what? 78 degrees and sunny. There's a nice little breeze. I was out prepping today's show out there on the back porch, listening to the birds sing, listening to the dog run back and forth. Oh, it was marvelous, I'll tell you. And I lost a little track of time. That's all. Lost a little track of time. Went out a couple of minutes, went for a little walk. I lost track of time. That's it. So that's my excuse. All right. What is this show? As I was explaining, it's headlines, it's current events, it's hot topics. It's whatever is happening in the world today, I'm going to bring it to you. We do this every Monday through Friday, noon till whenever. We do another stream. We do a stream at 9 p.m. Central Time. We call that Pugs and Parker. Pugs and Parker proudly present Pillow Talk on the Radio Misfits podcast platform. See if we can get this restarted again. I'm still obsessing on I'm filling time. Can you tell I'm filling time? I'm still obsessing trying to fix the chat room issue. All right. Oh my God, look at me. I look like Vacation Bob. Holy shit. Now the dog's barking. All right, let me get the dog. I'll tell you, when I come back, we're going to be much more professional with today's show. Let me let the dog in, and then we'll get started. It's all right, though. I don't have anything until 4:30 this afternoon, so we got time. We don't have to rush the show or anything. We'll hang out all afternoon. Shut up! Oh my God! Come on. Oh my God. I have to just apologize to all of you fine folks. I didn't shower today. I didn't shave today. I just woke up and started drinking coffee on the back porch. So I apologize. All right. Hi, folks. It's still, the chat room is still not working today. I don't know why. I am not seeing any of the comments. Are you guys able to see one another's comments? Because if you are, then I'm not going to worry about it. I like it so that you guys can interact. Okay, Charlie, what do you think I'm going to do, Charlie? You think I'm going to spend the next 5 minutes? Shorter comments than that in the chat room, please, my guy. I can't read all of that. All right, here's what this show is. Headlines, current events, hot topics, whatever it is that's buzzing about in the world, I bring it to you every Monday through Friday at noon. We go through all the day's events, the headlines. We're not divisive. We're not political. Sometimes we dabble in the world of the culture wars, but for the most part, we just try to have fun. We just try and get you all prepped up for all the things that you need to know so that you're not walking around out there having some idiot, someone you know is an idiot, telling you something you don't know. That's the worst. All right, so let's get started. It is high noon for the 6th day of March. God, March is gorgeous. Can I just tell you what a gorgeous day it is? Year of our Lord, 2023. March 6th is the 65th day of the year. Did you know that? 65 days. That means, class, how many days until New Year's? 300. Exactly. 300 days until New Year's. 300. We are 65 days through this bitch. And that's what I'm calling 2023, a bitch. Because they're all awful or they're all wonderful. See, that depends on a mindset. You can control that mindset. Every year is awful or every year is wonderful. Oh, we don't need to get into that nonsense. All right, let's talk about, here's how we do the show. We go through some 3 different stages. We go through the events of the day, okay? Things that happened on this day in history that shape the way we look at this day and the way we feel about this day. We go through those, and maybe they'll provide us with a little bit of a roadmap as to what we can expect from this particular version of March 6th in history. Then we go into some birthdays. We talk about the people who were born on this day, celebrate their accomplishments. Sometimes dance on their graves a little bit. It all depends on, what they did while they were here. And then the deaths. We talk about some people who died. Then, after those first 2 parts of the show are completed, the history and the births and deaths, after those first 2 are completed, then we move into the trends of the day. Only then do I feel personally for myself that I now kind of understand what the whole vibe of this day is. This whole March 6th energy. And then we jump into what today is. And we're like, okay. All right, so let's get started. On this day in 1820, a lot of times we go back to back in the year 4, Mekatakalaka defeated the Grogranians. Usually, but this one's pretty close, actually. 1820, we're not going that far back. The Missouri Compromise is signed into law by President James Monroe. The compromise allows Missouri to enter the Union as a slave state, and it brings Maine into the Union as a free state. And it also makes the rest of the northern part of the Louisiana Purchase territory slavery-free. Ladies and gentlemen, on this day in 1820, the Missouri Compromise saved America. Saved America. Stopped the Civil War. And we all lived happily ever. Oh, no. We didn't. No, we really didn't. And it only held for 30 years? When did the Civil War break out? I don't know, whatever. 1836, on this day in 1836, Texas Revolution. Oh, it's a big day here in Texas. Battle of the Alamo. It was today that after 13 days, an army of 3,000 Mexican troops surrounded the Alamo. The brave and patriotic 187 Texas volunteers inside, including frontiersman Davy Crockett and Colonel Jim Bowie, defended the Alamo with their life. They gave their lives defending the Alamo. Oh, there you go. Well, that too. Have you ever been to the Alamo? It's just a gift shop. That's all it is. Hiccups. Here come the hiccups. Anyway, it was on this day. The Alamo fell. Remember the Alamo is what they cried. Holy shit, the hiccups, man. They came out of nowhere. Oh, wait, these hiccups have a trip. There you go. God damn it. All right, give me a second. I'm not even going to dick around with these. Just give me a second. Fuck! And just like that, unlike those brave Texans at the Alamo, I have defeated the hiccups. I have defeated the hiccups. All right. Moving on this day in 1857, the Supreme Court of the United States ruled 7-2 in favor. I'm sorry. Let me get this right. I'm going a little bit quick. I recognized a word coming up that's kind of an important word in American history, so I want to make sure I read this properly. On this day in 1857, the Supreme Court of the United States, the Supreme Court, ruled 7-2, not even close, lopsided court back in those days. The Supreme Court of the United States rules 7-2 in the Dred Scott versus Sanford case that the Constitution of the United States does not confer citizenship on black people. Big win in white supremacist history on this day. Big win. Big win for, what am I doing? I'm absolutely not a white supremacist. You get the point. On this day in 1899, Bayer registers aspirin as a trademark. Aspirin. Did you know that? When people used to always go, it's not Kleenex, it's a tissue. But Kleenex has become so representative of the overall market space that the brand name Kleenex becomes the product name. Like the product is tissue. It's facial tissue or bathroom tissue. The brand name that was marketed by a specific company is Kleenex, but we all just call it Kleenex. It's like Coke in Texas. Hold on, this is only in Texas. Or like Coke, which is a brand name, the product is cola flavored soda pop. That's the flavor. It's cola flavored soda pop. That's what Coke is, the brand name. But here in Texas, you walk in and you say, I want a Coke. And they say, what kind? And you say a 7-Up. And they say, coming right up. I never understood that. Wait, you ordered a Coke? Yeah, I ordered a 7-Up Coke. That's not a thing. Anyway, it's like Bayer, aspirin. Aspirin is not like everything is not just Bayer. Bayer registered the name aspirin as a trademark on this day in 1899. On this day in 1933, the Great Depression, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, excuse me, declares a bank holiday, closing all U.S. banks and freezing all financial transactions. That was on this day in 1933. They said, banks are closed. Can't get anything. Boy, you need to run out. Think about, one of the truly world-changing inventions. I know we all talk about the computer. The computer changed the world. I would honestly say that the ability, digital money is basic. It all started with the ATM. The ability, once we were able to just get access to our cash whenever we needed it without having to go to the bank before they closed and wait in line and all that kind of stuff, or they had drive-thrus, you could drive through, but you had to go to the bank. You had to literally go to the bank because your actual cash, or cash filling in for your cash, was there, and you would take it out. And then the ATM came along, and you didn't have to wake up early on a Saturday. If you were going out Saturday night, and maybe you were a little hungover from Friday night, you had to wake up early because banks closed on Saturday at like 1 o'clock. You had to get to the bank before 1 o'clock to get your money if you were planning on going out on Saturday night. And then you only had the money you had. It's not like, you know what I mean? If you took out $40, that's it. You're spending $40. Whereas, let's say you go out, let's say it's 45, and all of a sudden you don't have 45. You're borrowing money off your friends. Give me $5. We'll get to the bank tomorrow. It's ATM. I don't know why I'm thinking about that, because I'm thinking about the way banks have changed. Because on this day in 1933, during the Great Depression, Roosevelt just closed all the banks. Which basically just we couldn't do it. There was no internet purchasing. My God, all commerce in this country would have been frozen at some point. I mean, people had money in their pocket, but after that was gone, if the banks are closed and nobody could get more money, crazy. On this day in 1951, during the Cold War, the trial of Ethel and Julius Rosenberg begins. Now, I don't know much about Ethel and Julius Rosenberg. Here's what I do. I mean, I think I know the basics. They were accused of being spies. for the Soviet Union, trading secrets about nuclear secrets to the Russians during the Cold War. Ethel and Julius Rosenberg, they were put on trial, they were convicted, and they were hung. But there's a whole lot more to the story than that. Like, there's a lot of people that say that they were innocent and that, this was anti-Semitism and that, this was, I don't know. Like I said, on that stuff, I don't know enough about Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, other than I know that there is more to that story. And should you be interested, just Google search Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. On this day in 1953, Georgy Melyakov succeeds Joseph Stalin as premier of the Soviet Union and first secretary of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. People forget Melyakov. They go Lenin, Stalin, Khrushchev, Brezhnev. They skip right over Melyakov. It's Lenin, Stalin. Actually, that's not true. After Stalin, there was all kinds of nonsense. There was like some Trotskyisms dropped in there, and then there was Molotov, I think, was in there too. I don't know. Anyway, Melyakov, he jumped in right after Stalin died, and he became like the top dog in Russia during the Cold War for like 2 years. But half of that was like split with Khrushchev because Khrushchev challenged him, and it's hard to explain. Anyway, on this day, Georgy Melyakov, the forgotten one, succeeds Joseph Stalin as premier of the Soviet Union. On this day in 1964, Nation of Islam leader Elijah Muhammad officially gives boxing champion Cassius Clay the name Muhammad Ali. Man, I had a big, God, it didn't escalate to a screaming match, but it almost did because I just started laughing, and my 13-year-old son just got madder and madder when I was laughing, and he almost erupted on me. We got into this argument today. So he comes up to me and he goes, I mean, first of all, if you're going to come up to me and you're going to say something like this, you better expect that we're going to go back and forth. So he comes up to me and he goes, Dad, got a question for you. By the way, I love 13-year-old questions. 13-year-olds have the best questions. They do. They don't have any responsibility. They don't understand the gravity of every, they just don't. They don't. But they have questions, and their questions are awesome. So my kid comes up and he goes, Dad, got a question for you. He's being all serious. I'm like, what? He's like, who would win in a fight, Bruce Lee or Muhammad Ali? Is that a 13-year-old boy question or what? Thank God. Thank God. So we got into it, right? Because he's of the opinion that Bruce Lee would take Muhammad Ali, and I'm of the opinion that he's nuts and that, he doesn't understand the real world, and he doesn't understand that Muhammad Ali was a much bigger, much more powerful man, and that Bruce Lee, albeit, very good and very fast, chop, was built like an 8th grader. Okay, so I don't know how much damage chop guy could do to Muhammad Ali when he's used to getting pounded on by Sonny Liston and Joe Frazier. Okay, I mean, Muhammad Ali can take a punch. Muhammad Ali can take a flying Bruce Lee. I'm Bruce Lee. I'm 105 pounds or whatever he is. He's just like, I'm Bruce Lee. I'm going to come flying across the air with my foot and I'm going to kick you right in the chest. And then Muhammad Ali is going to go, man, that's not even as hard as George Foreman hits, and he's just going to grab the leg and he's going to be like, so my kid and I, we went back and forth on it. He got so mad. He didn't understand because he thinks Bruce Lee is magic. He's still of the opinion that like Bruce Lee is the greatest fighter of all time, which is fine. I didn't need to get into the whole thing about, well, he was an actor, and yeah, he was a very well-practiced and decorated martial artist. He was pretty much unchallenged in the real world for the most part. Oh no, he went to these demonstrations, and I'm like, yeah, okay, there's no video of that stuff. It's like, that's all fable, and it's wonderful. Mythology is great, and I love Bruce Lee, and I'm glad that you do too. But Muhammad Ali now, Cassius Clay, changed his name on this day in 1964. That was a real fighter. That was a real world fighter. And I'm sorry, maybe if they were the same size, I would say that Bruce Lee's myriad of fighting techniques would probably overwhelm a same-sized opponent in Muhammad Ali. But they're not the same size. I think that Muhammad Ali would just be like Bruce Lee would go, he does that thing in the face. And Muhammad Ali would just be like, fuck was that? What was that? Little girl? I'm sorry. Just how I think. And you're not going to back me off this one. So yeah, me and my son got into it. I didn't go into all of it because I don't want him like, but he was getting mad. He did not understand why I thought Muhammad Ali could take Bruce Lee. And by the way, we should also say that we said, okay, so where is it? What are we talking about here? And my kid was like, I don't know, just like a playground. And I'm like, okay, so like a parking lot, right? So he's picturing like a playground fight because he's in middle school, and I'm picturing like a dance club parking lot at 2 a.m. So anyway, that was it. It was just like a no holds barred fight where there were no rules. It was just a fight. It was just two guys, shirts off. Let's go. Let's circle each other. Somebody's gonna win. Let's see. What else do we have here? Oh, on this day in 1975, here's an interesting one out of history. On this day in 1975, for the first time, the Zapruder film, that's the film of the assassination of JFK, back into the left, back into the left, back. That video was shown on television on this day for the very first time in 1975, which is such an interesting thing to have to sort of think about, for me anyway. Because for those of us, and I think most of us, are post-JFK assassination. We weren't around. We don't have any memories of that day or the days that followed or the weeks and the years that followed for the most part. We don't. I mean, I was born 7 years after that, six and a half, whatever. Dog is now shaking the camera. I apologize. So I think to most of us, as we learned about the JFK assassination, like I probably started to become aware of it around 1980, right? As like a little kid, as a 10-year-old kid where you'd start to learn about history. And I had always seen, it was always depicted in the Zapruder film. Every time from my earliest age of being aware of the JFK assassination, I saw the Zapruder film. JFK was assassinated. Here's the film. What's weird, and that I'm realizing now for the first time, is that it was on this day in 1975 that film was released. That means there was 12 years where nobody saw it. Everybody just heard about it. Like we see presentations and documentaries of the JFK assassination today, and they all use the Zapruder film. So it's like we are consuming this information, seeing it and hearing, but that's not how the American public actually processed the JFK assassination. They didn't see that tape for 12 years. It was 12 years later. I mean, we take for granted we see it. That's the assassin. That's what happened. But for 12 years, people were like, what do you mean the second shooter? What do you mean grassy knoll? What do you mean? Just weird. I don't know. Because I had always, I guess, just assumed that people consume that information at the same time, right? That they saw the video. Like I honestly, I would have thought that a couple of hours later after the assassination, the night of, maybe Walter Cronkite's doing it. We now have the film. I thought they were showing the film that day, but they weren't. It was 12 years later on this day in 1975. On this day in 2018, Forbes magazine names Jeff Bezos the world's richest person for the first time at $112 billion net worth. So they named him Bezos, Amazon, in 2018, 112 billion. Oh my God, 112 billion. Think about that, the last 5 years. Think about how the last 5 years, billionaires are now creeping up on $200 billion mark. Okay, so we know that the billionaires have gone from 5 years ago, the wealthiest man on the planet was 112 billion. Today, the wealthiest man on the planet is 187 billion. And by the way, the guy with 112 billion, after losing half of that, still has 123 billion. So 2018, he was the richest guy. His wife, Mackenzie, takes half of it. He's down to 60 billion. And now here he is 5 years later, and he's gone from 60 billion to, in less than 5 years, because 5 years ago, he was worth 112 billion. We're talking about Bezos. So then Mackenzie breaks up with him and takes half his money. He's down to 6 billion. Now he's up to 123 billion in like 3 years. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Ask yourself, in the last 5 years, has your net worth grown or has it gotten tougher? Has times gotten tougher in the last few years? Because it hasn't for the billionaires. The billionaires have not seen their wealth shrink. We hear these stories that throw us off the scent. Like Elon Musk lost $5 billion today, and we think, oh, good. He's going to be ruined. Oh, good. And now he's only worth $165 billion. You know what I mean? It's like, so they tell us these little stories. But overall, man, the billionaire class has been getting super, super fat. Super fat, super happy the last 5 years. I don't know that we have. I don't know that we, the working class, have. I don't know that we, the middle, the upper middle. Look, if you make more, or if you make less than $500,000 a year, okay, I don't think that I don't, until people who make less than $500,000 a year start to put together the whole cause and effect thing of why the food they're buying is more expensive, why the gas is fluctuating the way it is, why cars are going up, why homes are in the tank. Homes, why? Well, because that's what you own. That's what you are. The homes are in the tank because that's essentially the net worth, the collective national worth of the middle class. So that's the real indicator that I like to watch to see like who's really getting squeezed here. Oh, really? Home values are down. Well, who owns homes? Everybody normal, you know? I don't want to get off on that. I just, I'm just saying it's interesting to me that in 2018, the wealthiest man in the world was worth 112 billion. And now in 2023, after years of war and strife and economic depression and fluctuations in the markets and a pandemic and all of that stuff, that after that, even though the rest of us have borne the brunt of that bullshit and we've come through it, because we're fighters, you see. We went through all that. But, 5 years ago, the wealthiest man in the world was worth 112 billion. Today, he's worth almost 200 billion. So I'm just saying that class of people did not suffer one bit. In fact, they found out ways to make lemonade out of lemons. Good for them. Bad for the rest of us. On this day, let's talk about some birthdays. Let's celebrate some birthdays. Born on this day, here's a big one. Here's a real big one. Here's a big one that... Interesting story. Michelangelo, ladies and gentlemen. Michelangelo, born on this day, of course, famous for his works with the Sistine Chapel, famous for his David, famous for he did a lot of stuff. What do you got to do? What do I got to do? I got to sit there. I got to mention. I mentioned the two things that everybody knows, so at least it sounds like I know about Michelangelo. I don't know about the stuff that he did, but here's what I do know. Do you know that Michelangelo was a contemporary of Leonardo da Vinci? Like Da Vinci and Michelangelo worked not truly contemporaries because Leonardo da Vinci was a little bit older. Well, actually older. He was like, could have been his dad or whatever, than Michelangelo, but they were like around at the same time. That's like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. Just like, both. And that was it. That was entertainment. Oh my God. For the most part. I mean, I guess there were jugglers, but art, like that's entertainment. That's pretty much, they didn't have TV, they didn't have movie theaters. Plays, I guess plays would probably be pretty good. Pretty good entertainment too. Michelangelo, born on this day. Born on this day in 1619, Cyrano de Bergerac, of course, famous for I Wish I Was a Fish. No, of course not. I don't think that's him. Cyrano de Bergerac is famous because he was a writer and a poet and a French lover, although ugly, right? And Cyrano de Bergerac, he was a dude. Cyrano de Bergerac was a dude, but he also wrote a book called Cyrano de Bergerac where he talked about how he was ugly, but he had game. He had game with the ladies. So he took a big, dumb, stupid, good-looking guy, and he just told the big, dumb, stupid, good-looking guy all of the good things to say. And Cyrano de Bergerac, born on this day in 1619. Born on this day in 1806, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, of course, English poet, famous, of course, for I Wish I Was a Fish. No, I don't think that was her either. Born on this day in 1906, Lou Costello, American actor and comedian Lou Costello. We just talked about him dying a couple days ago. He died like 3 days before his death. So I already told you, not like a big fan of the slapstick. Never really loved the Abbott and Costello. Who's on first is clever. That's very clever. If you've ever tried to memorize that, that's a pretty clever little wordplay comedy thing. It's a good exercise. It's good. Who, what, like really, because you really got to think. Anyway, Lou Costello, born on this day in 1923. Born on this day in 1927, Gordon Cooper, American engineer, pilot, astronaut, Gordo Cooper. Ladies and gentlemen, a true American hero, Gordo Cooper, born on this day in 1927. Born on this day in 1936. Train wreck of an individual. A train wreck of an individual who still more accomplished than any of us. I'm sorry, I hate to say he's a train wreck of an individual, but he still found time to become a very successful dude. Happy birthday to disgraced former mayor, two-time mayor of District of Columbia, Marion Barry. Crackhead, rumored pimp, used to be a gang leader in his youth, ran prostitutes, smoked crack, caught smoking crack, gets in trouble for smoking crack, goes to jail, gets out of jail, runs for mayor, becomes mayor again, Marion Barry. But think about that. That dude made like a whole bunch of bad decisions. And is like, he obviously has a problem with identifying the right path and the wrong path throughout his life. And yet he still was super successful. And don't tell me that being mayor of Washington, D.C. isn't super successful. You try and be mayor of Washington. Hell, you try and be mayor of the town you live in. Washington, D.C., that's some cutthroat bullshit going on there. You got to know the right people. You got to shake the right hands. You got to have the right money. You gotta, dude's a crackhead, and he's still more successful than I am. Jesus. I've never done crack in my life. Maybe I should try. Maybe doing crack. Born on this day in 1940, Willie Stargell. We are family. Remember Willie Stargell? Pops Stargell of the Pittsburgh Pirates from the 1970, the We Are Family Pittsburgh Star. Dave Parker was I'm trying to think who was Kent Tekulve. Remember Kent Tekulve? They had Kent Tekulve. Kent Tekulve was a submarine pitcher. We don't see many submarine pitchers anymore. Kent Tekulve used to pitch like a girl's softball. Like he didn't go completely underarm, but he went from such a sidearm delivery. Kent Tekulve. Oh, was he a freaky looking guy? And they had those square hats. Do you remember when the Pittsburgh Pirates wore the square hats? Like it was the 70s. So by today's standards, that was old timey. But in the 70s, they were wearing old timey square baseball hats. Willie Stargell, born on this day in 1940, Pop Stargell, the leader of those great Pittsburgh Pirate teams. When I was a kid, just falling in love with baseball, this was We Are Family. Remember when they made that song, their anthem? This was like a team, like one of the first teams that I was like, okay, I could totally dig on the Pittsburgh Pirates. I like this team. Willie Stargell to me seemed ancient. He was called Pops. Oh, will he be back for another year? Will the legs give out? You know, it was all this like tragedy. And I'm like 8 years old or whatever, 9 years old. And I'm watching this and I'm going, Willie Stargell, he's as old as Grandpa. Dude was like 37. Dude was like 37. And they talked about, anyway, happy birthday, Willie Stargell. Happy birthday, Pops. Born on this day in 1946, David Gilmour. He of Pink Floyd. He, of course, longtime husband to Kate Bush. Kate Bush, another singer-songwriter. Well, Kate Bush made some money this summer when Perfect Strangers. What's the show? What's the Stranger Things? Well, yes, of course, you know the Netflix show about monsters living underground, Perfect Strangers. No, Stranger Things. Stranger Things made Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill a hit again, like 30 years after it was a minor hit back in the mid-'80s. So I like to think that like when those checks started rolling in to the David Gilmour, Kate Bush house, David Gilmour sitting on his big Pink Floyd checks that come every single day. You're just sitting on this throne made out of recording and BMI and commercial jingle and album sales checks. He's just on this throne and she comes running in from the mailbox with her little Netflix check. They're playing Running Up That Hill. Good for her, right? Good for her. She needs a little something. I know I was happy. I know I was very pleased when I saw that Kate Bush had some hits. All right, David Gilmour. Born on this day in 1947, Kiki Dee. Don't know why I'm mentioning her, other than the fact that one of just like the happiest songs ever. She had Kiki D had like one hit. Maybe she had more hits. I don't know. I just know her from her duet with Elton John. Don't go breaking my heart. Yeah, whatever. That's all right. Kiki D, happy birthday to you. Born on this day in 1947, the old meathead himself, Rob Reiner, meathead. Mid-tier actor, Hollywood royalty, silver spoon, son of Hollywood royalty. Rob Reiner, son of Carl Reiner, started his career playing hippies and dippies and the meathead on All in the Family. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about Rob Reiner as one of the greatest film directors of the past 30 years. Rob Reiner draft! Oh, you better believe we're doing a Rob Reiner film draft. Oh, you better believe it. And this is, if I do say so, one of the finest. This is a good draft. Coming in at number 5 off the board. I'm sorry, we don't do it 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We do drafts, our first picks. With the first pick in the Rob Reiner draft, Pugs and Company's High Noon stream will be selecting. You did not need to hear that. Ladies and gentlemen, first off the board in the Rob Reiner draft, this is Spinal Tap. This is Spinal Tap. Arguably one of the 3 greatest comedy films ever made. This is Spinal Tap, Rob Reiner's virgin directorial debut. I don't know. Maybe. This is Spinal Tap. All right. Second off the board. The second film off the board in the Rob Reiner Meathead film draft. A Few Good Men. You Can't Handle the Truth. Few Good Men. Rob Reiner directed Few Good Men. Number 3 off the... Hey, dog, that's the camera. See the camera just go crazy. What are you doing? You stretching? Okay, you can't stretch like that, kiddo. As a matter of fact, maybe you should move. I don't care. Number 3 off the board. This is a reach. Sometimes in the draft, I like to do reaches. I'm pretty sure that I could have invited this as a non-drafted camp invite, but I wanted it. I see special skills in it, and it's one of my favorite films from the 1980s. Ladies and gentlemen, number 3 off the board, The Sure Thing. The Sure Thing. The story of John Cusack traveling coast to coast to get laid because he's promised. She's a sure thing. Rob Reiner directed Sure Thing. Number 3 off the board in the Rob Reiner draft. Number 4 off the board in the Rob Reiner draft, ladies and gentlemen, ground zero for the rom-com phenomena that would follow. When Harry Met Sally. When Harry Met Sally. Yeah, I call that the original rom-com. Actually, that's not true. I call Annie Hall the original rom-com, but Annie Hall was like a more East Coast elitist sort of rom-com version. Rob Reiner made rom-coms what they would become. Right? The whole Tom Hanks thing, right? Like the original Tom Hanks, you think of him in like The Sleeplesses and, You've Got Mail, all these stupid rom-coms. Originally, it's Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan. Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan. All right, When Harry Met Sally is number 4. Number 5 off the board in the Rob Reiner director draft, films that Rob Reiner has directed. We've got This is Spinal Tap going off the board first. A Few Good Men going off the board second. The Sure Thing going off the board third. When Harry Met Sally going off the board fourth. And number 5, and there are still so many of his films that can make this slot, but I got to go with number 5. Have Fun Storming the Castle. The Princess Bride. The Princess Bride comes off the board at number 5. There you have it. That's your draft. Spinal Tap. A Few Good Men, The Sure Thing, When Harry Met Sally, and The Princess Bride. But we are inviting some people to camp. Rob Reiner's got a shit ton more movies that you're going to go, oh, yeah, that is a good movie. All right, so camp invites will be going to Stand By Me. Right, Stand By Me could have very easily been a draft pick, but it's getting a camp invite. We're going to send a camp invite to Misery. That's right, Mr. Man. I'm your number 1 fan. Misery is getting a camp invite. The American President. Come on, The American President. That was good. Michael Douglas. That was a good movie. Who was the chick that he was with? The Warren Beatty lady. Annette Bening, right? American President. Ghosts of Mississippi is also getting a Rob Reiner director film invite. The Story of Us. Oh, I love The Story of Us. Oh God, it's about the end of a marriage. You know that movie that Netflix made a couple of years ago that everybody was like, "Hey, you got Marriage Story," right? Scarlett Johansson and Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver. Yeah, that was the story of us. Just see the story of us. It's the only difference is that the story of us has Bruce Willis and Michelle Pfeiffer. Okay, so it's Bruce Willis and Michelle Pfeiffer, and not Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson. But it's good. The story of us is good. It's getting a camp invite. Rumor has it gets a camp invite. The Bucket List gets a camp invite, and we're even going to invite North. That's right, that weird little movie that he made that nobody understood. I did. I got it. I thought it was weird and cool. North. Camp invite. All right, there you go. That concludes our Rob Reiner draft on his birthday. Meathead. For a lot of people, I'll say this about Rob Reiner. He's one that you got to practice that separate the art from the artist, because he pisses people off on the social medias. He's like a real lefty. But hey, he did A Few Good Men and Misery. That's pretty good for me. And Spinal Tap. You can't negate Spinal Tap. Born on this day in 1963. Yeah, we're still in the birthdays. Born on this day in 1963. D.L. Hughley. Happy birthday. I love D.L. Hughley. Born on this day in 1967. Connie Britton, American actress. And we will stop on Connie Britton, because I got some Connie Britton hot takes, boy. Whew. First of all, can we all just agree that we should all be so lucky as to marry a Coach Taylor's wife? Remember from Friday Night Lights? She was Coach Taylor's wife. That's like the first time she really popped off screen for me. I was like, oh my God, Coach Taylor's wife and she had a name. I know she had a name. She had like a fully developed character and all that, but I don't remember it right now. She was so hot. Not hot. She was like MILF hot. She was believable. You know, she could live in Richardson. You know, she's like the hot mom that lives a couple of doors. But then she was also so cool. And then Nashville, I don't watch no Nashville. I watched like the first season of Nashville because of Connie Britton. I'm just telling you, all the stuff that she did with the early American Horror Story stuff. Connie Britton is a national treasure. And I just saw Connie Britton in a new Netflix movie called This Is Where I Leave You, with which has Tina Fey, Adam Driver, Jason Bateman, Jane Fonda. It's about a dad dies, brother, sisters come home. Yeah, we've seen the plot before. But anyway, she is the best. Happy birthday to you, Connie Britton. You are the best. You, young lady. Couple more years. We'll be talking about you in the same breath as other national treasures. Connie Britton, love her. Happy birthday, Shaquille O'Neal, born on this day in 1972. Shaquille O'Neal, look at this. Isn't this fun? Shaquille O'Neal is umbilical cousins with our good friend Jared Reddick. Jared Reddick, American singer, songwriter, guitarist, and actor. How is Jared Bennett? Jared is the lead singer of Bowling for Soup. Jared is a good old friend of the Pugs and Kelly show. Bowling for Soup, of course, were the house band of the Pugs and Kelly show. Went on to great fame, national acclaim, big rock stars. They're our big rock star friends. Happy birthday to you, Jared Reddick. I still listen to Bowling for Soup a lot on my Spotify lists and all that stuff. My kid digs them. My kid's a 13-year-old boy, digs them. He's like, I like this, Dad. I'm like, okay, cool. Happy birthday. Oh, another local Dallas icon here, huh? How about this one? Born on this day in 1973. He's just like me. Born in Chicago. Spent his best years in Dallas. Michael Finley, ladies and gentlemen. NBA superstar Michael Finley. I think Michael Finley went to high school at Luther South in Chicago. I don't know. You could look it up. If so, that was like right in my neighborhood. Anyway, Michael Finley celebrating a birthday on this day, born in 1973. Born on this day in 1992, also celebrating a birthday, although he's celebrating it in jail, Sam Bankman-Fried. Sam Bank, what are you talking about? That's my co-host, Schizophrenic Me. He chimes in from time to time. Sam Bankman-Fried ain't in jail. He's rich. That's right. Yeah. Anyway, he's celebrating his birthday. He might have a very fashionable ankle bracelet on at worst, but I don't know. Maybe he's in jail. I don't think so. I do not think that Sam Bankman-Fried is currently in jail. I have to imagine that he is out, that he is under some kind of house supervision, sitting on a big pile of money they have to give away because he's not guilty yet. So he can just keep living the life. And why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you just keep living the life until they take the life away from you? Let's go through some people who died on this day. Okay, so we got Bowie and Crockett, and we got William Travis. Okay, those are the dudes, big icons here in Texas. Died at the Alamo on this day. Today's the day the Alamo fell. Remember the Alamo? That's what they shout here in Texas. I never hear that shouted in Texas. But, it's one of those things that people think we do all the time. We ride horses, wear cowboy hats, and scream, "Remember the Alamo!" Oh, the other thing that people think about Texans is people think that Texans all drink Lone Star beer. Nobody drinks Lone Star beer. It's like I never see every movie or TV show when they want you to know that the setting has changed and that they're now in Texas. It'll always be a bar and somebody's drinking Lone Star. Everybody's drinking Lone Star. I've never seen anybody drink Lone Star beer. I don't think I've ever had Lone Star beer. Is that even a real beer or is that just a movie beer? Because people in Texas do not drink Lone Star beer. They drink Shiner. Like if you want me to like think that you're authentically in Texas, then you're going to have like multiple Shiner, pulls on your kegs, on your drafts. Multiple. Because, New York, LA, Chicago, man, I used to love when I'd walk into a bar and they'd have like a Shiner pull on their bar, but it would only be one, right? But in Texas, you could have like 5 or 6 different ones because, that's what they drink here. It's like whenever I see like a Goose Island, when I walk into a bar in Texas and I see like a Goose Island honker. Goose Island is like the pull with the duck's head. It's like a honk, honk, honk. Whenever I see Goose Island, I'm always like, cool. Anyway. Remember the Alamo is not really something we say. Louisa May Alcott, American novelist and poet. She died on this day in 1888. Of course, she is famous for "I Wish I Was a Fish." No, I don't think that was her either. Dead on this day in 1900, Gottlieb Daimler und German Ingenieur und Businessman. This was Mercedes-Benz partner, right? Daimler. Right? That dude, didn't he get involved with them? I don't know. Whatever. But Daimler, like now it's Daimler Chrysler. But it used to be Mercedes-Benz Chrysler. I don't know what. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, that dude, Gottlieb Daimler, was dead on this day in 1900. Dead on this day in 1932, John Philip Sousa, American conductor and composer. What did he do? You do anything we remember? Moving on. Kidding. Born on this day in 1933. Who do we got here? Dead on this day in 1933. Anton Cermak, Czech American lawyer and politician, mayor of Chicago. He's the guy we talked about him. He got shot a couple weeks ago. We talked about this. They tried to kill the president of the United States. They accidentally killed the mayor of Chicago. Cermak Avenue. That's why it's named Cermak. Okay, for all my Chicago friends, that's now you know. Although you probably knew before then. Dead on this day. Here was one that I saw when I was looking at the deaths, and I'm like, what? This person died in 2006. I didn't even know that they were dead. If you'd asked me yesterday, this person dead or alive, I'd be like, alive. Of course. Kirby Puckett is alive. Nope. Kirby Puckett died. Kirby Puckett died in 2006. Minnesota Twins, great. One of the best hitters I've ever seen. One of the best all-around ball players of the 1980s. I mean, you couldn't make a list of the 5 best players in baseball in any random year in the 80s and not have Kirby Puckett on that list. Kirby Puckett was a ball player. 2006, how did he die? Dead on this day in 2016, Nancy Reagan. Nancy Reagan died on this day in 2016, American actress. She was the 42nd First Lady of the United States. Oh, what a love story. Oh, those 2 old bats seem to love each other. Nancy Reagan, dead on this day in 2016. Excuse me. I'm really bummed out by the chat room today, folks. Not you guys. You guys in the chat room are fine. I'm just upset. Can you guys communicate with each other? I don't even know if you guys You guys can, because I can't see you interacting with each other, because for some reason, I don't know. My version of the chat where I get to see and get to interact, even though I don't interact, but I get to. Never mind. I don't have to explain it. I don't want to explain it. All right, let's get into all the things that are trending today. The stuff that people are talking about, the stuff that's making headlines, the news, the hot topics, the trends, whatever you call it. We'll get them all to you right here. Mexico, Dateline. Dateline, Mexico. A couple of, not a couple. Let me see here. 4 U.S. citizens have been kidnapped by gunmen in Mexico in case of mistaken identity. This, according to U.S. officials. This is the big story today. 4 U.S. citizens were assaulted and kidnapped by gunmen in northeastern Mexico on Friday in a case of mistaken identity. The Americans are believed to have been targeted by mistake. Oops! And were not the intended victims, U.S. officials say. They had traveled to the border city of Matamoros. Okay, so right there, they had traveled to the border city of Matamoros for medical procedures. Oh, God. Okay, so why? Because it's cheaper? Oh, God. The official said, citing receipts found in the vehicle. What were the procedures? They were like, because they can't afford asthma medication in America, so they travel to Mexico to get it for their babies. Now I feel bad. If somebody's getting a boob job, I don't feel quite as bad. The information we have is that they crossed the border to buy medicines in Mexico, where there was a confrontation between groups and they were detained, the president said. The whole government is working on it. The missing Americans, who were not identified, drove into Matamoros on Friday in a white minivan with North Carolina plates. The FBI in San Antonio said there they were fired upon by unidentified gunmen and were placed in a vehicle and taken from the scene by armed men, this according to the FBI. An innocent Mexican citizen was killed isn't that always the case? Was killed in the incident. U.S. Ambassador to Mexico, Ken Salazar, said, "We have no higher priority than the safety of our citizens," according to Salazar. "This is the most fundamental role of the United States government. Officials from various U.S. law enforcement agencies are working with Mexican authorities at all levels of government to achieve the safe return of our compatriots." Compatriots? I mean, I know that word. Just doesn't look weird. It just looks weird. The FBI is seeking the public's help finding them and identifying those. Okay. So they were in a vehicle that had North Carolina plates. So that would lend one to reasonably suspect that they drove from North Carolina to Mexico. Could they be buying drugs in Mexico just to take them back to North Carolina to sell them illegally? I mean, right now, this story, the way it's being framed, appears on the surface to be innocent Americans just going to Mexico. I mean, who is that tone? Because that's the tone of it. The tone of it is that these are innocent people who traveled to Mexico, American citizens, and this is how dangerous and scary Mexico is. And Mexico is dangerous and scary. But have you ever been to the south side of Chicago? Have you ever been to Harlem? Have you ever been to North Harlem? I mean, come on. There are a lot of places here in this country that are scary too. So they're from North Carolina and they're driving in a van. And they're driving from North Carolina. Again, we're assuming this because of the plates. And they're buying medicines, but we're not being told what medicines they're buying in Mexico. They enter through Matamoros, which I guess makes sense because they're driving. But again, if this is designed to scare people away from Mexico, okay, so they'll scare people away from entering through Matamoros. Who enters through Matamoros other than people who are up to no good and teenagers looking to party, right? I mean, that's where you go. Most people who travel to Mexico travel to Playa or Cancun or, places like that. This is not the same thing. So I'm curious about the North Carolina plates. I have a small place in my brain where this story is concerned, where I will keep that idea of the kid that needs asthma medication. But that's a small place in my brain. I'm thinking North Carolina entering through Matamoros. They run into some trouble. They were buying medicines. I mean, that's got to be illegal, right? That's got to be illegal. Has that even been mentioned in the story, right? It seems like it must be illegal to drive from North Carolina, cross over into Mexico, buy drugs in North Carolina or buy drugs in Mexico, and then drive them back to North Carolina. That seems like that's got to be at some point illegal, right? Maybe when you cross back over into the United States, suddenly you have pills you bought in Mexico. I don't know. But again, this story, it seems to me, maybe they were up to something. Maybe again, I compartmentalize these shootings like this. Should I be concerned about my next trip to Cancun? Not that I have one planned, but should I be concerned about my next trip to Cancun because of this story? Hell no. Hell no. I'm not driving and going to pharmacies in Matamoros. So, the overarching intent of the story, which I think is to make us all think that Mexico is dangerous and don't go to Playa anymore. I think that's bullshit. This Saturday, did you see this? There was a second train derailment in Ohio. Second Ohio derailment raises ire in Congress on rail safety. Woo, that's going to be a big conversation now. 50 years too late. We should have been modernizing our rail system in this country 50 years ago. When the Japanese and the Europeans were doing theirs that where was the train invented? I was just going to say, theirs probably came after ours because I just assume we invented the railroad, but I don't think we did. Didn't we do a story a couple of weeks ago about the first railroad being in England? Like the first time they laid track. Anyway. We should have those tube trains, man. We should. It's 2023. Have you ever looked at just the mechanism involved in keeping it? The next time you are stuck at a train crossing, just look at the tech that is going on, keeping that train safely on those tracks. Come on. There is no way in 2023 you can look at that and go, that'll work. That's crazy. There should never be a situation. Now, why don't we have it? Well, because, the train companies would have to take a loss for a couple of years while they changed over to more modern stuff. And in America, we can't take a loss for a couple of years, even though it will greatly benefit society as a whole and everything will even out in the end. We can't do that because we've got shareholder meetings every 6 months. Ugh. So next time you're at a train, just watch, look at that shit. That's just steel in a groove. That's all it is. So yeah, those things are going to fall over from time to time. And you know what? They don't need to fall over. They wouldn't fall over if they were in a tube. They were in some kind of a new thing. They're magnets, like they use the magnets in excuse me, in Japan and Germany and all over Europe. They got the magnet trains. We got technology to do hover trains and tubes. Why aren't we doing it? Got the exact same thing that people were using in the 1850s. It's train track. It's the same thing. It's the same kind of wheel that fits into the same exact track. Okay, sure, they've been pulled up pieces from time to time. But you know what I'm saying? We've got old shit. So of course, these trains are going to derail. And towns are going to explode. That's why nobody. Oh, boy. This one pissed me off. This one is still trending today. This one really pissed me off. All right. So there was a front page story in the New York Times on Saturday. I don't know if you guys saw this. Actually, I can show it to you. I'll share it to you because it's just... I like to talk about how the Fox Newses and the Newsmaxes and all them, they're always trying to gin people up. Well, the other side gins people up too. And the New York Times, if we are to consider them to be on one side over another, and I think most people do, I think that the New York Times would be classified as a more left-leaning or liberal publication. So this was on their front page on Saturday. Okay, I want to share this with you. It's still trending today. Okay. Let's see if I can get the full thing in here. Well, I don't know if I can. Yeah, there we go. Okay. I'm going to share this with you now. Okay. So, all right, there we go. Is that sharing? Yeah, there it is. Now, I don't know if you can read what that says. It says, here's the tweet. For Black equestrians with natural hair, finding a helmet that fits can be virtually impossible. Another barrier to inclusion in a sport that remains overwhelmingly white. Helmet companies say there isn't a simple fix. And then they show a picture of a pretty young girl with, flowing lioness locks standing by her horse. And it says, people need to realize diversity and inclusion belongs anywhere, especially in sports. And her name is Chanel Robbins. Now, I'll completely glass over the fact that I'm just saying that if my grandpa took a look at Chanel Robbins, I don't think my grandpa would call her a black girl, but she identifies as a black girl. And this story is about how the racist world of equestrianism, dressage, fancy rich people stuff with horses. This is the New York Times story on Saturday. I think it's important to use New York Times space to address the very real, widespread. I mean, we are talking dozens of rich little black kids with natural hair. We're talking dozens from coast to coast who have been forced with the unfair task of either cutting their hair or participating at a high level of competitive dressage. Seriously, I'm being absurd. Do you know how insane this is? This is why I get so pissed at the left. There are very real and very serious issues concerning race relations, concerning the inequity of our system. All of these things, a lot of them can be discussed, a lot of them begging for print space in a paper like the New York Times. But the New York Times on Saturday decided that they were going to put on their front page a very important story about how rich little black girls aren't allowed to participate. See, that's the other thing. Don't want to misstate it. It's not that they're not allowed. It's just that the hairstyles that they're choosing does not allow them to have helmets that fit them properly. This is not an issue of race. This is an issue of fashion. I had a friend in high school who was on the swim team, and he had thick, flowing golden hair. And you know what? They made it to state. So you know what he did? He shaved his head. He shaved his hair. The entire swim team shaved their head bald when it came time to participate in state. Why? Because they chose the competition over fashion. If black children with natural hair want to participate in high-level equestrian events and they want to be able to they have to be able to wear the appropriate uniform and protection, padding and whatnot, then you got to cut your hair. This is skin color. We get skin color. We'll talk about the skin color and all that kind of stuff because you can't change your skin color. I fully believe that there are people out there, white and black, who immediately judge you based on your skin color. So we're talking about your hairstyle, your choice of hairstyle. You can change that. You can absolutely alter your personal choice of hairstyle in order to compete in this kind of event, equestrian event. The problem isn't that they're not making helmets to fit you and your hairstyle. The problem is you and your hairstyle. Your hairstyle is what's making it so that you can't. This is just such an insane. This is why people get so pissed off, because this story is nothing but a device to gin up really stupid people on the left. Really stupid people on the left will be like, I now want to start a charity that will help little black girls do competitive dressage and have the proper helmets. Really, what are you going to do? You're going to open a tool and die factory. You're going to open a plastics molding firm. You're going to start making helmets. Shave your damn head. If you want to participate, get rid of all of that. Look, it's glorious. You look beautiful. This girl in this picture, my God, that is great. Your hair is amazing. I understand how difficult a decision this might be for you. But this is not an example of racism, New York Times. There are examples of racism that if you just looked out your window, you could probably print about from today until the end of times. But no, you are putting up these stupid stories, and all they do is fuel your enemies Your enemies are going to look at this story. You think I'm fucking pissed. Think about the people who hate the New York Times and how they're going to present this kind of nonsense. This is a dick-tripping own goal on the part of the New York Times, pretending like this is something that we need to pearl clutch over. The fate of what, and I keep saying wealthy little black girls, because let's not kid ourselves. It's unbelievably expensive to participate in equestrian sports. Are you kidding me? So we're talking about rich kids. We're talking about rich little black girls who cannot advance because they cannot in the sport because they cannot find proper helmets. Cut your hair. I love you, little girl, and I love your hair. But how much life is about difficult decisions. How much do you love horse jumping? Because you got to have a helmet, and your helmet has to fit properly. And if you love horse jumping, then you're going to have to cut your hair. How much do you love your hair? Do you love your hair more than horse jumping? See, this is not something that needs to be on the front page of the New York Times. All right, so I've vented on that. Thank you. Tom Sizemore has died. Tom Sizemore. Oh, man. Oh, Tom. Oh, unfortunate. Tom Sizemore was a very interesting dude. Tom Sizemore was a terrific actor. Terrific. Even if he didn't necessarily show range, he always kind of played a Tom Sizemore character or a Michael Madsen character, because I always think that Tom Sizemore and Michael Madsen are like the same actor, which, we lost Tom Sizemore, but we still have Michael Madsen, so that's good. Tom Sizemore, after all the shit that he put his body through, been battling drug addiction for the last 30 years. When Tom Sizemore wasn't walking a red carpet with Tom Hanks, Tom Sizemore was like passed out in a Dunkin' Donuts parking lot with a crack pipe in his hand, right? Trying to, fighting off TMZ to explain why his latest arrest went down the way it did. That's pretty much Tom Sizemore. He's been a jacked up dude for years, but a great actor, a truly good actor. Every time Tom Sizemore was in something, I'm like, okay, at least I know that character's going to bring it, because Sizemore brought it. Aneurysms. Just after all that he had been through, after all that he had done to his body, all the junk that he put into his veins, all the shit that he snorted, all the cigarettes, all the alcohol. No, liver's fine. All that stuff's fine. It's his brain. It's just an aneurysm. Just one day, just popped. And he was in bad shape for about a week. And the family made the decision to pull the plug in quality of life kind of thing. So Tom Sizemore. And because Tom Sizemore has died, we're doing a Tom Sizemore film draft. That's right. We are doing the movies of Tom Sizemore. First off the board. And we're not going to be a big draft, but enough to really go, yeah, man, that dude was in a lot of good movies. First off the board, Saving Private Ryan, of course. He was it's like the second lead in Saving Private Ryan. Tom Hanks' first in command guy. Tom Hanks' little dude that was not little dude, he was bigger than Tom Hanks. But he was like his guy. Saving Private Ryan, first off the board in the Tom Sizemore draft. Black Hawk Down comes off the board. He was good as the Colonel. He was the Colonel in Black Hawk Down. Off the board, Heat. That's right. He played Michael in Heat. Heat was such a good movie. Fourth off the board in the Tom Sizemore draft, Natural Born Killers. He played Scagnetti. He played Detective Scagnetti. That piece of shit. Oh, my God. And fifth off the board, cannot forget him, Detective Nicholson. True Romance. That's right, True Romance. That's a pretty good draft. I know Tom Sizemore, when we think of like Hollywood actors, we don't think A-list or anything like that. But I'll tell you, when you can die and then we put together a post-mortem draft on the films you've been in, and not films you've been in, but films that you've had major roles, big characters in, Saving Private Ryan, Black Hawk Down, Heat, Natural Born Killers, True Romance. All right, Tom Sizemore. You carry on, sir. You go on to whatever the next thing is. You did some cool shit down here. And you got high a lot. Derek Carr is trending. Derek Carr is trending right now as we speak. Why? Because Derek Carr, the former LA Raiders quarterback, has signed a deal with the New Orleans Saints. That's right, the New Orleans Saints. They got themselves, a quarterback. That's what I would say about Derek Carr. plays the position of quarterback. He is, you know what? Here is what I will say about Derek Carr. He is an NFL caliber quarterback. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. That's it. That's my entire hot take on Derek Carr. Gary Rosington. Gary Rosington has died. Gary Rosington was the last remaining living founding member of Lynyrd Skynyrd. If I leave it tomorrow. Lynyrd Skynyrd's Gary Rosington, dead at 71, survived famous plane crash decades ago. Gary Rosington, the last original member of legendary rock band Lynyrd Skynyrd, has died. The guitarist behind such memorable songs as Freebird and Sweet Home Alabama passed away Sunday evening, according to a statement released by the band. Although his cause of death was not disclosed, Rosington suffered from a series of heart-related issues over the years, including a heart attack in 2015. He also received an emergency heart procedure in 2019. Members of Skynyrd paid homage to Rosington in their statement. It is with our deepest sympathy and sadness that we have to advise that we lost our brother, friend, family member, songwriter, and guitarist, Gary Rosington, today. All right, there you go, Gary Rosington. Again, I'll tell you my Lynyrd Skynyrd story. Lynyrd Skynyrd was a band that I always just kind of dismissed, and that I always just thought was kind of like, I of course I knew the hits, right? Sweet Home Alabama and Freebird. And here's the thing. Even though in my mind I derided Lynyrd Skynyrd for probably the first 30 years of my life, like I just dismissed them as being like this stupid bunch of dumb hillbilly, I fully acknowledged that the only two songs that I knew were timeless bangers. Like even while making fun of Lynyrd Skynyrd, you'd be rocking out to Sweet Home Alabama. That's just a good song. That song comes on at the right time in a bar. Come on. It took me, I was dating a girl. I was dating a girl who I thought was particularly cool. She was a cool chick. She was a little bit younger than me. She came from a different generation, and she was really into Lynyrd Skynyrd. And she couldn't believe that I, a man of my generation, wasn't more into Lynyrd Skynyrd. And so she took it upon herself to force me to listen to all kinds of Lynyrd Skynyrd at times and they're great. And then I saw that documentary, If I Leave Here Tomorrow, about the band. Holy shit, was Lynyrd Skynyrd. Lynyrd Skynyrd is now currently, easily they're a top 5 American band for me, top 5 American bands of all time. Skynyrd's in my top 5, but they might be top 10, top 20 for sure, all time. The stuff that Skynyrd was doing, the stuff that they were talking about, I never knew that Skynyrd had opinions and a worldview and all that. I didn't know that there was poetry in those songs. I mean, they're saying shit. They got opinions and they can boogie, man. That band could play. Everybody in that band was just apex at their instrument. Look, maybe not apex in a studio, but apex in a saloon bar. I mean, they are just like the quintessential Southern rock boogie band. They were great. Anyway, Gary Rosington, dead today. And it took me a long time to truly appreciate Lynyrd Skynyrd, because I don't know. I just had this whole thing like, oh, they're just like dirtbag, dumb hillbilly stoners. Like, that's what I thought. And then I'm like, wait, they're not that at all. They're like, as a matter of fact, yeah, well, they're hillbillies, but they're like the opposite of that. They're the opposite of everything that I think. They're hillbillies who got kicked out of their hillbilly town because the other hillbillies didn't like them, because they weren't, like down with the whole hillbilly. Anyway, they're hillbillies through and through, but they're good hillbillies, is all I'm trying to say about the guys. I was just very biased against them. I just, whatever. Pete Davidson is trending. Pete Davidson is trending not for somebody that he's dating, but for somebody that he's dating and what they did together. He's got a new girlfriend. It was first of all, the other day there was big breaking news on Twitter. Everybody was freaking out. Black Twitter was very angry at Pete Davidson because apparently Pete Davidson had a new girlfriend, and she was a black girl. And Black Twitter was very upset that Pete was now dating a black girl. Black male Twitter felt fairly confident that Pete was going to stay over in his lane. Black male Twitter already has enough to do dealing with, the likes of Drake and those types. So they didn't really want more coming over. And when it was revealed that Pete Davidson was dating Tiny Spice, something, I don't know, some hip hop girl, some black hip hop girl. Oh, Black Twitter went nuts. Well, it turns out that he's not dating her. It turns out that he's with somebody else. And they drove a car into a house. Pete Davidson and Chase Sui Wonders. They put these names in these news reports like we're supposed to know who they are. Chase Sui Wonders. Who the hell is Chase Sui? Chase, Chase, and then her middle name is Sui, which I believe is Sui, but I don't know. And then the last name is Wonders. Chase Sui Wonders. They're involved in car wreck in Beverly Hills. They slammed into the side of a house. Pete Davidson went from beachside lounging one day to a collision in the streets of LA the next. And his girlfriend was with him for both occasions. Law enforcement sources say Pete Davidson and Chase Sui Wonders were involved in a car accident Saturday night around 11 p.m. Our sources say he was behind the wheel of a Mercedes and driving at a high rate of speed through the Flats neighborhood of Beverly Hills. For some reason, he lost control of the vehicle, which hopped a curb, took out a fire hydrant, and then proceeded to slam into the side of a nearby house, dragging across the lawn and leaving skid marks on the grass. All right, so he was racing around in a fancy Mercedes with his hot new girlfriend. Pete Davidson, man. Pete Davidson. Did you ever see The King of Staten Island? All right, so if that's supposed to be some loose biography of his life and where he came from and what he was raised like, yeah, man. He's Pete Davidson. He's having fun. He come from nothing. He didn't come from nothing. Shouldn't say that. He came from a pretty good life, all things considered. But he didn't come from money. He didn't come from wealth. He came from a working class background. He's in Hawaii. He's got mid-range talent. I mean, I root for Pete Davidson, but I still don't get Pete Davidson. I don't understand why he's so famous. He's funny, but yeah, I don't know. He's in Hawaii. He's got to come back to LA. He lands in LA. He's got his hot girlfriend. And I'm just guessing she's hot because he's Pete Davidson. They jump in like some fancy Mercedes sports car. Why? Because Mercedes doesn't make non-fancy cars. So I know that. So they're driving around. He's in Beverly Hills. He was just in Hawaii like a couple hours earlier. Now he's in Beverly Hills. This is the kid from Long Island. So now he's in Beverly Hills. He's racing through the neighborhoods with his hot, I don't know, it's probably like some stupid Instagram model. He's racing around Beverly Hills with some hot Instagram model. He's showing off a little bit. Maybe it's a rental. I don't know. He probably doesn't know exactly how this car handles. And maybe he's unfamiliar with the streets. Takes a little turn too quick, hops the curb, jumps the grass, slides right into the side of the house. Pete Davidson is living a life, ladies and gentlemen. That is a life. Nobody's hurt. Everybody's fine. Pete Davidson with his hot. You know, she was on the phone the whole time, like while they're waiting for the police to show up. She's just there. She's in some like ridiculously tight mini skirt. She's probably got like purple hair. You know, she's got like purple hair and whatever. Tats all over. Hot. I mean, she's probably hot. She's just on her phone. She's on her phone the whole time. Pete's trying to explain to the homeowners why he slammed into their house. She's just leaning against the car, tweeting or texting. Chris Rock is trending. Chris Rock is trending. Why? Why is Chris Rock trending? Chris Rock is trending because he had Chris Rock had a special on Saturday night on Netflix. You can see it now. It's called Chris Rock Selective Outrage. It was important because it was the very first time that Netflix has done a live streaming event. Hulu does live streaming. Everybody does live streaming event. Netflix does not do live streaming events until Saturday night. Saturday night at 9 o'clock, Netflix went live with a Chris Rock stand-up special. That's what Netflix does. Netflix does stand-up specials. That's their lane. So if they were going to do their first entree into live, everybody thought, oh, it'll be sports. They'll buy a league. No, it's stand-up. This is what they should be doing. They should be doing live stand-up specials. It's a good way for Netflix to introduce the concept of live streaming to the people who are on their platform. Anyway, live streaming as opposed to on-demand streaming. Netflix is all on. This was live. So, look, I think Chris Rock is a tremendous stand-up comedian. I'm a big fan of his. I think he's one of the great minds of certainly the last 30 years of stand-up comedy. And I believe that stand-up comedians are the modern-day philosophers. So, I put them in a pretty important place. I don't know why I started talking like that, but I did. So I was excited, and I had my 13-year-old kid, and so we decided to make it a day. We were gonna watch the Chris Rock special on the gigantic garage door-sized TV that's over in the big house. And we're gonna have a nice dinner. We're gonna go running around. We're gonna do a little running around. We played baseball all day. After baseball, we came back in, and I will let my 13-year-old son, in anticipation of watching Chris Rock's return to a stand-up special live, first time live, streaming on Netflix. I let my kid watch Bring the Pain. I was like, okay, so I know you know who Chris Rock is because Chris Rock has done a whole bunch of animated movies and all this. I go, but this is his comedy, and my kid loves stand-up comedy, so I figured 13, he can handle Chris Rock's Bring the Pain. We sat, my 13-year-old son and I, and watched Chris Rock's 1996 stand-up special, Bring the Pain, the one that made him Chris Rock. And I will tell you what, a 20, 20, 24, 25, 26, 27 years later, me and my 13-year-old son rolling in laughter. Chris Rock's 1996 Bring the Pain. I'm sitting there watching this and I'm like, is this the greatest stand-up special of all time? This might be the greatest stand-up. Chris Rock's Bring the Pain holds up. However, if he tried to do it today, if Chris Rock tried to do Bring the Pain in 2023, if you think Dave Chappelle has some problems, if you think Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, there was some content that Chris Rock was laying down in 1996 that was troubling by today's standards. By 1996, hysterical, groundbreaking. By today's standards, where we're triggered by everything. Why did he say that word? Because he was being funny. That's why. Anyway, so we watched that, and now he's really excited for the new special. And he's like, it better be great. And I'm like, yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be because he's going to talk about Will Smith. We're very excited. We're like, he got smacked by Will Smith last year. It's the first time he's going to talk. He's been working for a year on how to respond to being slapped by Will Smith material. He's going to debut that material for us today. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be awesome. So we sit down, they did a stupid pregame show, then they did a postgame show, and it was all stupid. But here we go. But anyway, here comes the Chris Rock event. Chris Rock comes out. He's in Baltimore. I'm not sure if it was the exact same theater, but Baltimore is, of course, where he recorded Bring the Pain back in 1996. So I'm like, very excited. So Chris Rock starts. Chris Rock comes out, and it's Chris Rock. Chris Rock doing his, doing his whole Chris Rock thing. He's got the whole thing. You know how he yells and stuff like that. We lasted 30 minutes. My son and I lasted 30 minutes. He was like, Dad, this isn't great. And I go, son, this is not great. This Chris Rock special is not great. It is, I don't know if I had built it up. I don't know if maybe I shouldn't have watched Bring the Pain 2 hours before the Chris Rock special that aired on Saturday night, but it wasn't great. As a matter of fact, it was. I was let down. I was let down by it, and I didn't even see the Will Smith stuff until like 2:00 in the morning. Like we just stopped watching it. What did we watch instead? I don't remember what we watched instead. I think we watched old SCTV on YouTube. I think that's what we did. We watched old episodes of SCTV Network 90 on YouTube. But yeah, I was not blown away by Chris Rock's, at least the first 30 minutes. And then later that night, I went back and I watched the rest of it. And I can tell you that, I was not blown away. I thought that the stuff that he did on Will Smith, although highly anticipated, I was very excited and I was waiting and I wanted to hear everything that he said. Nothing particularly interesting. I don't think that it wasn't worth waiting a year for. You know what I mean? There wasn't like any great. It was all just very mid. And I honestly think because my 13-year-old son and I watched his Bring the Pain special hours before this one, I think that affected this one. I think there's just here I am hoping he can outdo Bring the Pain. And, it's like, no way, not even close. It wasn't even, I can't think of one joke from the Chris Rock special. Like, okay, so the joke that I love from Bring the Pain, like, this is just one of the great stand-up comedian jokes of all time. It's simple. Chris Rock context for you. Chris Rock is talking about living in the ghetto and the kinds of things that you have to deal with living in the ghetto. And he is talking about confronting on a daily basis prostitutes. And the prostitute says to him, "Baby, I will do whatever you want for $300." And Chris Rock says, "Bitch, paint my house." That is, that is an amazing joke. Prostitute, I will do anything for $300. Bitch, paint my house. That is a great joke. There were no jokes that were even half as interesting as that in the latest Chris Rock special. It was very depressing. It was not depressing. It was a letdown. I would suggest, if you're a Chris Rock fan and you're a fan of stand-up comedy, go ahead. You can watch it. You might enjoy it. I was just let down by it. And again, I really do think it's because we set the bar so high with Bring the Pain. We watched Bring the Pain hours before this special, setting a level of expectation that was just not going to be met. Prince Harry is trending. Prince Harry is trending today because Prince Harry's telling a story about, so in his book, in the Prince Harry book, he talks about doing all kinds of drugs and stuff. Not bad drugs, like rich kid drugs. Like he does shrooms, he does a little coke and smokes weed. Rich kid drugs, kind of drugs they do at prep schools. And he says that the first time that he did shrooms, he did them at Courtney Cox's house, from Friends. That he was invited to a party at Courtney Cox's house, and he did shrooms, but she didn't know that he had done shrooms. So listen to this story. I'm going to tell you the story on how Harry ended up doing shrooms at Courtney Cox, Monica from Friends' house. Friends. It would just be Friends. From Friends' house. Prince Harry says psychedelics are a fundamental part of his life. Okay, so the story goes on to talk about how he does psychedelics all the time. He's one of these micro-dosing guys. He likes just a little bit. It helps him with stuff and blah, blah, blah. And then he talks about how, when he first started doing drugs, and he talks about the time at the friend's house. He says here, before doing mushrooms for the first time, I'd be offered a line and I'd do a few more. Harry previously revealed calling drug use not much fun for him. The military pilot said that although coke didn't make him particularly happy, it did make him feel different, which was his main goal. Harry also wrote about trying magic mushrooms. This is what I want you to follow me on. Harry also wrote about trying magic mushrooms while attending a party in the home of Courtney Cox. At the time, the Invictus Games founder, apparently that's something Harry founded, at the time, the Invictus Games founder claimed that he was told the Scream and Friends actress was traveling on a job and didn't mind if he stayed at her place. So Courtney Cox isn't at the house, but somehow this is how celebrities are. You can just stay at a celebrity's. So Courtney Cox isn't there. Harry's going to go party at Courtney Cox's house because that's what rich dudes do, I guess. So he's going to go party at Courtney Cox's house and stay there. She's traveling. Okay. To his surprise, Cox showed up and invited a few friends over for a get-together. Yeah, to his surprise. Okay, so let's walk through this. Courtney Cox has Prince Harry staying at her. She's like, well, I'm not even going to be there, Harry. You can just go there and you can have the whole place to yourself. I'll be out of town. Wink, wink. And then Harry goes over there. She's probably in a car with binoculars. She's like, okay, Harry's there. And then she goes and she rustles up all her friends. And she's like, Prince Harry is at my... Courtney Cox wanted to be Meghan Markle. Courtney Cox would have loved to have been in the royal family. Anyways, all I'm saying is she wasn't out of town. This was a setup. So he's there now. Prince Harry's there at the house, and he goes, this is great. I don't know why he talks like Ringo, but in my head, he talks like Ringo from the Beatles. Isn't this great? Courtney Cox with friends are staying at the house. And then she comes bursting through, surprise, I'm home early. And she shows up, she's got a whole bunch of friends, and she's like, and we're partying. Because now she wants to take control of the room. Now she's got to hang. She's got Harry to himself. He's staying in her place. So she can stand next to him and stuff, and she can be like, this is my friend Harry. You know what I mean? She can work. This was a setup from the very beginning. However, it gets weirder. To his surprise, Cox showed up and invited a few friends. I just show up at my own house with a ready-made party in my wake. That's right. That's how you just show up from being out of town with a whole bunch of people, party on the go. I ain't buying it, Courtney. You knew he was there. You brought the party to him so that you could look cool. It's fucking Princess Diana's kid. It's a big deal to women of your generation. I know that, Courtney. I know. To his surprise, Courtney showed up and invited a few friends over for a get-together, during which Harry said he discovered a box of Black Diamond mushroom chocolates. More rich people stuff. I don't know what psychedelic Black Diamond mushroom chocolates are, but apparently there's a company that makes them and puts them in boxes so that they're like a legit thing. This is like rich people's. Really? Is this like a rich person thing? Here, I've got some of the Black Diamond mushroom chocolate. I want to try Black Diamond mushroom chocolates. But more to the point, to his surprise, Cox showed up and invited a few friends to the get together, during which Harry said he discovered, which means he found, while rooting around Courtney Cox's house, he found a box of Black Diamond mushroom chocolates. And this is the difference between like people who were raised super rich and entitled and people like me and you who weren't. If I'm rooting around somebody's house and there's like, and I'm guessing it was unopened, and there's like an unopened box of like chocolates, I am not going to open that box and take a chocolate. I'm not going to do it. Rich people will. Rich people, it's just a chocolate. Or maybe it was already opened, which does change the strategy here. Like if I were to be at your house rooting around and I found like a box of chocolates and I opened the box of chocolates and there was just one chocolate missing, then no, I put it back. If there's just one missing, nope, put it back. Too bad. Or if there are none missing, if I open it up and there are no chocolate, nope, I don't get one. But if you got like 3 or 4 missing, yeah, I might take one. I'll try. If you got 3 or 4 missing from the box, I'll grab one. I'll taste one. But if you got one missing, no. All right. So here's what he did. Let's see, where is it? To his surprise, Courtney Cox showed up and invited a few friends over for a get-together during the time Harry was staying there, during which he said that he discovered a box of Black Diamond mushroom chocolates. My mate and I grabbed several. Just grabbing several. Do you know how expensive that? Well, I guess not if you got friends' money or colonialism money. My mate and I grabbed several, gobbled them, washed them down with tequila, Harry wrote, before recounting his hallucinations, which included a trash can transforming into a head. He says, I stepped on the pedal and the head opened its mouth. A huge open grin. I laughed, Harry added. Oh, man, that's got to be fun. It's just got to be fun to be that guy. It's got to be fun to be those people. You got Pete Davidson racing around Beverly Hills with some hot, disassociated Instagram model. He's racing around. He's slamming into houses. You got Prince Harry doing shrooms. And now, not to be forgotten, somehow, this one is serious. Ja Morant is trending, ladies and gentlemen. Ja Morant. You familiar with old Ja Morant? Memphis Grizz, one of the greats. Yo, he's good. He's so exciting. So Ja Morant was apparently in a club on Saturday, getting all in the club. And somebody, this is you idiots, you young idiots. God love you. Everything's being recorded, you young idiots. So one of his buddies is recording, and then all of a sudden, Ja Morant is in this club, and he's got a gun. He's like got a gun in his hand in the club, and he's being filmed on Instagram. Okay, all right. So Ja Morant is in a little bit of trouble because he's putting up Instagrams where he's playing with guns in a club. Guns in a club, man. Serious stuff. Los Angeles, Dateline. There's no definitive timeline for Memphis Grizzlies star Ja Morant to return to the team, Coach Taylor Jenkins said Sunday before the team's loss to the Clips. The team had initially said that Morant would be away for at least 2 games as he seeks help. And the NBA conducts an investigation into the Instagram live video that he posted early Saturday morning, in which he displayed what appeared to be a gun while at a nightclub. We have said that it's going to be at least these 2 games, Jenkins said. I mean, this is going to be an ongoing healing process. It's really not a timetable situation. On Monday, police in Colorado said they were investigating Morant's actions and whether they may have broken any laws. Morant's video is believed to have been filmed in Glendale, a small enclave surrounded by Denver and known for its strip clubs and shopping centers. Jenkins said the team's focus on supporting Morant through what's going to be a difficult process. A difficult process? He's a 23-year-old kid worth probably $50 million at this point. He's in a club on Friday night. He's a basketball star. He's a superstar. He's in the VIP. He feels completely untouchable. Do some of his boys have guns? Yeah. Some of everybody's boys have guns because in America, everybody has guns all the time, everywhere. And apparently that's just fine. So he's 23. He's drunk. He's filthy rich. Nobody ever tells him no. And of course, he's going to now go on Instagram and show the whole world that he's also a badass because he's got a gun. Fuck him. Stupid. Suspend him for the rest of the season. Well, I'm obviously not a Memphis Grizzlies fan, but seriously, I'm just so done with this whole gun culture. Like, you're fucking Ja Morant, dude. You're live streaming from a club. That's pretty cool. Okay, so what is this like? Now you're showing a gun. Are we supposed to go, oh, and he's scary too? What? Fuck, man. What a dumb ass. But again, he's a 23-year-old dumb fucking kid. 23-year-old. He's 23 years old. He got $50 million. Nobody ever tells him no. He's completely of course, he's doing stupid shit like this. Doesn't make him a thug or a shooter or whatever, but it does sort of depict the culture in which he comes in or comes from. Our culture, of modern day American culture, where somehow that's a show of what? Masculinity? Look at me on my Instagram with my gun. All right, now you're just a fucking idiot. Now you're just really trying. Fuck Ja Morant. Just so stupid. He's 23. This is not fuck Ja Morant forever. He's 23. Somebody, he needs to be seated. He needs to be benched. Somebody needs to pull him aside right now and go, dude, you are 23 years old. You are one of the most exciting players in the NBA. Why would you decide to go down this path? Why are you choosing the thug path? Can I introduce you to the Kobe path? Can I introduce you to the LeBron path, to the Steph path? Why are you doing this? Makes no sense. Memphis, the entire team of Memphis is becoming so unlikable with their just. It's too bad too, because they could be a really exciting team to root for. Small market. They definitely have their own serious Memphis culture down there. It could be a really cool thing. It could be a really great thing for the NBA. But no, they're going to lean into this whole Ja Morant needs to be the leader of that team, and whatever Ja Morant's brand is what the Memphis Grizzlies brand is going to be, like it or not. Do Nothing Day. Do Nothing Day is trending. What is Do Nothing Day? Well, apparently there's a new study. It says that if you spend 1 day a week, and the people who they talk to in this story here, they say it's Sunday. If you spend 1 day a week doing absolutely nothing, they say it'll be better for you. There are no metrics, like they can't say it'll make you live longer. They say, but it helps. It helps people who participate in a do nothing day, which is typically on Sundays. Now, this is also a luxury. Being able to have a do nothing day is a luxury that not everyone can afford. But for those of you who can afford to have a do nothing day, what is a do nothing day? It's literally that. You don't even get out of your bed clothes. So a do nothing day is you basically just, well, these people say that a few years ago, my wife Angie and I made a pact. Every Sunday, we swore to each other that we will abstain from work, and we kept our promise. On the second day of each weekend, we start our morning and end our night by binging TV in bed. In the middle of the day, we binge TV on the couch, taking breaks exclusively to either nap or eat. The anxiety of looming to-do lists sometimes creeps in, but we will fight to stay still, he writes. Anyway, there you go. So if you are so blessed as to be able to have a do nothing day, they say it's good for your head. How about this? Here's another weird one. Speaking of do nothing, y'all familiar with the no fap movement? You know what fap means? I didn't know this till today. Apparently fap means jerk off. We should just call it like, dude's jerking off, he's jerking off, whatever. But fap apparently is something that the kids call it now. Does that mean something? Fap? Does that mean something? Does FAP, does it stand for something? I don't know. But it says here, abstaining from masturbating raises your risk of anxiety, depression, and erectile dysfunction, study warns. So there's a study out that is talking about these people who are abstaining. Apparently, there's like a bunch. Like, is it incels? What is it? I don't know. But there's like a whole movement of dudes who are like not jerking off. Like I'm not ever gonna. So whatever. And scientists are saying, yeah, that's not good for you. You actually have to. You, I jokingly say I call it releasing the toxins, but these scientists are actually kind of saying, yeah, you got to release the toxins. And they say that the healthiest men ejaculate 21 times a month. Well, I think we all know that I'm not that healthy, but that seems like a big number. That seems like a very big number. No FAP is the movement. No FAP is the movement of dudes who are not doing it. Although I think it's just a movement of guys who are liars, but whatever. No fat claims to boost confidence, focus, and cure erectile dysfunction. But a study has found that the practice may, in fact, have the very opposite effect. Participating in no FAP techniques may lead to devastating mental health issues, a study suggests. Born out of groups on Reddit, the no FAP movement urges men to avoid masturbation to boost confidence. It says that they will have more focus and even cure erectile dysfunction. Those who abide by the practices even call themselves FAPstronauts. FAPstronauts. Astronauts go to the unknown. You're going nowhere. I don't get the stronauts thing. I think you're, researchers at the University of California, UCLA, surveyed 587 men who had taken part in the abstinence practice. They found that men said they felt worthless, shame, sad, and in some cases suicidal when they relapsed, which means I'm not going to jerk. I'm not going to jerk. Oh, I jerked. Oh, I feel bad. Experts support occasional masturbation and sex for its many health benefits. One Harvard University study found that men who ejaculate at least 21 times a month slash their risk of prostate cancer by a third. Ho! That's a great fear of mine. Maybe I need to start. Maybe I need to get back into my teenage ways. So dudes who ejaculate 21 times a month at least. Men who, let me read this because this is Harvard. This is Harvard saying this. Men who ejaculate at least 21 times a month slash their risk of prostate cancer by a full third. All right. So we're going to end the show on that. Because we're all going to retire and we're all going to slash our risks. Slash our risks. Actually, I think, do I got another one? No fat movement. Nah, that's it. That's pretty much it for today, folks. All right, let's jump over to Twitter. Let's see what's trending. See if there's anything new that's popped in and people are talking about it since we signed on here today. You can double back with us tonight at 9 o'clock. Pugs and Parker present High Noon. Oh, man, all of a sudden I'm having some issues here. There we go. Why is my computer working so slow? Let me see here. All right, what is trending here? What is trending? Apparently, there's a lot of NFL stuff going on right now. A lot of NFL stuff. We got a lot of. I'll tell you, which is good for me because I am telling you, I am looking at this off season. March 15th, new year starts. New league year starts on March 15th. I am counting the days down to the new league year because when the new league year begins, my Chicago Bears will not only have the number one pick in the upcoming NFL draft, which we will trade multiple times for multiple picks, and we will have a draft haul this year. We're very excited. But we also have whole bunch of more free aid. We have more salary cap than, first of all, anybody else in the league by like twice. Like the team in second place with salary cap this year in the NFL offseason, they've got like half what we got. All right, so we're going to go big in free agency. So my team's going to go big in free agency. We're going to go big in the draft. We're going to have like 10 picks in the first 3 rounds. It's going to be crazy. Anyway, I'm just saying. So I'm very interested in NFL movement. Derek Carr, we know about him. Derek Carr, he's going to go be a Saint. Derrick Henry is trending because the Titans have said, yeah, we're going to get rid of you. Titans are looking to trade Derrick Henry. Okay, that's fine. What do you want for him? I think Derrick Henry and Justin Fields in the same backfield could be interesting. So, what do you want for him? We won't give you the number one pick. That'd be silly. However, what if we gave you a number one pick for next year? Because we're sure to acquire a number one next year. As a matter of fact, we might end up with like 3 number one picks next year. Would you give up a number one for Derrick Henry? I don't know that I would. What if we give you a 2 this year, a 2 next year, and a 4th this year? Let's get it done. Let's get Derrick Henry in a Bear uniform. Let's do that. We can make him the highest paid running back in NFL history, and we would still have more money in salary cap space than any other team in the league this year. We could get not only whoever we want, but we could get 5 of whoever we want. It's very exciting. Calvin Ridley is trending. What is that? Has he become a player again on the 15th? Like I said, the new league year starts on March 15th. Calvin Ridley had to sit out. No, they've reinstated him. Okay, Calvin Ridley has been reinstated by the NFL. Remember, he gambled. He was like injured, and he gambled on one of those sports apps because there's something. Well, the NFL knows the sports apps. This is really embarrassing for the NFL because the NFL, who until about 5 years ago was the most ardent critic and opponent of the idea of legalized sports gambling. And then 5 years ago, FanDuel became a thing and DraftKings became a thing. And the NFL was like, oh, you're going to give us an extra $1 billion a year for all this? Okay, so now suddenly we'll be pro gambling. And in the middle of the embracing of gambling, the NFL had to suspend Calvin Ridley for gambling on one of their partner sites. He was gambling. He was doing exactly what they are encouraging the fans to do. But you can't do it. You can't do it if you're a player. Jets are trending. I don't know why the Jets are trending. I don't really care why the Jets are trending. Orlando Brown. Why is Orlando Brown trending? Orlando Brown. I want Orlando Brown. Orlando Brown. I want Orlando Brown on the Bears offensive line next year. All right, very good. This is good for us. So Orlando Brown, he's one of our top targets in the upcoming free agency. We were worried as Chicago Bear fans that the Chiefs were going to franchise tag their left tackle, Patrick Mahomes' left tackle, Orlando Brown. Update: Chiefs left tackle Orlando Brown will not get the franchise tag per rap sheet. Brown is headed to free agency if no long-term deal is agreed to, and will be one of the top free agents of the market. Yeah, you're damn right he will. Come on, Orlando Brown. You want to be the highest paid left tackle in the league? Because we're handing out highest paid badges to all the free agents who want to come be a part of our team next year. All right, that's going to do it. Was there any Cowboy news? Are the Cowboys gonna franchise tag Pollard? Is that a thing? Is that going to happen? I guess I don't know. They probably will. Who else they going to franchise tag? You can't let Pollard go. Can't let Pollard go because Zeke sucks. Gotta let Zeke go. Zeke averaged what? Like 3.5 yards? Zeke had some really ugly stat. It's not 2.5 yards. It's something else. Anyway, I don't know. All right, guys, come on back tonight at 9 o'clock for Pugs and Park will proudly present Pillow Talk. It's more conversational. This is informative. This is all the information that you need. Headlines, hot topics, current events. We do this every Monday through Friday at noon. Tip the show if you can. That would be much appreciated. This show is dying. When I tell you this show is dying, it's dying. We exist at your convenience. We exist because of your kindnesses, your gratuities. You can tip us via Venmo or Cash App. Help the show out. Treat me like your bartender. Treat me like I'm your car valet. Whatever it is you need to do, hook us up. Help us out. See you tonight at 9. Bye, everybody. Love you. The best is yet to come. I have found a different way, so baffling to some. I have got an old guitar. That is all I need. I don't need no 401. I don't have the greed. Down the road I'll try.
travel far from the comfort nest. I am on a never-ending quest. Tomorrow is another day. The best is yet to come. I have found a different way, so baffling to some. I can smile a little now, things are going good. I always had to be on guard, that is understood. Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I am on a never-ending quest. I am on a never-ending quest.